signs, but
on
they're really on
the sign.
different signs.
Hey, but we're gonna try to do everything is everything. What's up,
What's up,
Dale?
sir? What's going on, buddy?
You the man?
Everything good?
Everything is everything.
That's what I'm talking about. I tell you what, everything is everything.
I wonder what them niggas say about us instead of giving people these tools.
Good evening, everybody. We're going to go ahead and bring this meeting to order. Councilman London, if you would open us up, sir.
Let's pray. Gracious Father, we just so grateful and thankful, Father, that you have allowed us to come and, Father, just serve the city of Irondale, Father. We didn't take this opportunity for granted, Father, because we know that if it wasn't you, we wouldn't be in this spot. But, Father, if you would, as we go through this agenda tonight, Father, let's keep you first on our mind, Father, and then, Father, secondly, let's keep the city of Irondale focused first, Father. We thank you and ask in all in Jesus Christ that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to go ahead and have our roll call. Councilman London? Councilwoman Cuellar?
Here.
Councilman Box?
Present.
And Councilman Wilson?
Present.
And myself, present. And before we get into the agenda formally, we're going to go ahead and take an opportunity to sort of break up the mayor's report into about two different sections. So, Mayor, I know you had a few things that you wanted to do tonight. If you want to go ahead and take care of your first item.
Okay. Good evening to everyone. We would like to thank you for actually coming out to our council meeting tonight. We have a fantastic agenda. It's pretty crowded. But we wanted to make sure that we reward our kids who participated in Black History Month art contest. So we had the contest for grades 3, 4, and 5. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and present those fire tablets and certificates so that they can hurry up and get out of here and get ready for school anymore.
Can he get mine? Hey, Mayor.
Mayor?
Hey, Mayor. Can we get you on a mic?
Thank you, Frank. So I'm just going to go ahead and go with our winners. For the third grade from Irondale Community School, our winner is Jaquay Page. Jaquay, I want to give you this certificate here, and also, you can stay here with me for a hot second, or you just want to take your gift. But I want to let you know that you got a fire tablet, and you also have a case to go with your fire tablet. So if you just turn, look at the camera right there. Which one is his, Emma?
Right there in the middle, correct?
Middle?
You want
Okay.
to stand right here by
Stand.
your heart? Stand right there. Just stand right here. That's perfect. All right, big smile. Great job.
Thank you. Our winner for the fourth grade is also from Irondale Community School, and the winner is Jaden Daughtry. Daugherty? Jaden? Hi, Jaden. Want to thank you for entering into the contest and being the winner for the fourth grade. We have a certificate for you, as well as a fire tablet with a case. So we hope you enjoy yourself when you get home tonight. Right, Mom and Dad? Which one is his?
The very far left. The red.
All right.
That's perfect. You want to hold up the certificate? Great.
I'm keeping your gifts. I'm trying to keep one for myself. And our final winner is also from Irondale Community School, and it is Cash Pippins. Cash, I want to give you your certificate. I'll hold your fire tablet as well as your case, unless you want me to take it home with me. I don't think you want me to do that, so we'll stand in front of your picture right there. I'll get on this side. Okay. Thank you, Cash. Okay. And if you all would like to vacate the room, unless you want to stay around for a wonderful council meeting that we're getting ready to have tonight, you're more than welcome to leave. You're welcome.
We'll take a moment. Okay. Mayor, Bobby Joe's gonna take a picture real quick with someone.
Oh, okay.
And then, as far as we're concerned, we'll just give the room a few moments to clear out.
John, did you catch any last names? I got Jaquay, Cash, and then Doherty was the last name, but I didn't get the other last name.
It is.
I didn't get the last name.
That's good, yep, absolutely.
You remember all these names?
We got them.
You got 'em?
That's great to hear that.
Jaden Doherty and Jaquay. Okay. Emma Williamson. Okay, yeah, I'll take it.
You needed one.
Lieutenant, if some of the big people want to come into the room now, you can let them come in. Well, I mean big in size. Well, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. The adult people, by age.
Voting age citizens, man?
All right, we'll go ahead and pick up where we left off for those who were with us momentarily. We appreciate the contribution, and thank you for running the contest, Mayor. For everybody that's just joined us, welcome to our meeting tonight. We've already done our roll call. Our next agenda item would be to go ahead and approve the minutes. We have two sets of minutes to approve. One from February the 3rd and the other from February the 17th. So I'd like to go ahead and take them separately if we could. So in regards to the minutes from February 3rd, could we have a motion for approval?
Yes.
Council President Spivey, I noticed on the February 3rd minutes that it showed Councilman London is absent, but he was present. It was by virtual means.
I know he's listed in the absent column, but it does say entered the meeting via Zoom.
Okay,
Thank you for that
All right.
clarification. Any other questions around the minutes around February the 3rd? Okay. May we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that the minutes dated February 3rd be approved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Outstanding. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Moving on to the next set of minutes, may we have a motion for the approval of the minutes from February 17th?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from council meeting on February the 17th, 2021.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No abstentions?
One
Okay,
abstain.
perfect. Thank you for that. All right. Moving on to our next agenda item would be the approval for current bills for payment. Will we have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion that we approve the current bills for payment in the amount of $247,635.96.
Second on that?
Second.
Second by Councilman London. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Outstanding. Now we find ourselves looking for any professional or consultant reports. Okay. That being said, Mayor, we now find ourselves back to you. Would you like to finish your report?
Yes, I'll go ahead and finish my report. And at the end of my report, I'm going to invite Ms. Mary M. Helmer Worth from CMS. She's the president for the state coordinator for Main Street, Alabama, to come and speak to the council about how Main Street can play a significant role in helping us to be able to develop our downtown in the future. So I just have a few things. I'm going to go through these pretty quick. It's like, if you remember seeing Chris Berman on ESPN, and it's called the 2-minute drill, well, this is going to be the Irondale Mayor's 2-minute drill. So I'm just going to hit the highlights. If anybody have any questions, you can send me an email or give me a call, and we can talk about it in more detail. February 23rd, we had Coffee with the Mayor. It was a wonderful event. We had about 15 to 16 individuals that showed up to be able to drink coffee and eat Krispy Kreme donuts and to be able to solve some of the problems in the city of Irondale. We had a food drive for the month of February. We gave out 450 boxes of food, and we're going to have the same drive twice for the month of March, on the 13th and the 27th, in front of City Hall at 9 o'clock. And I would just like to thank everybody that came out and participated in helping us to be able to give those boxes out on the month of February. Also, on Sunday, if you don't have anything else better to do, I will be broadcasting the Message with the Mayor, March 7th, 2021, at 6 p.m. on Facebook. On March the 9th, we're having a court amnesty day here in the courtroom. It'll be from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and also from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. I just briefly want to talk about recycling. I know it was a big issue about cardboard being picked up on Monday, but we do not pick up cardboard if it's wet because it contaminates the whole load. So we're just asking everyone to be patient with us as we work through this. I'm in the process of trying to revamp our recycling program, hopefully to be able to provide homes that participate in the process with a 65-gallon recycling can, which allows you to be able to tear up the cardboard, throw it in there. You have something on top of it so we don't have to worry about it getting wet and contaminating the whole pile. Also, if you would like to sign up for the insert of the newsletter that we have in the water bill, because some people say they don't read their water bill or open it up, we have a button on the city website homepage that will allow you to go ahead and sign up for that. Also, if you want to schedule a meeting with the mayor, you can go to the mayor's page and you can sign up there by just putting in your information, and Ms. Lee Allison will get with you to be able to confirm your appointment. Also, I wanted to thank our fire chief. He's also we didn't know that we had a tech geek that was a fire chief at the same time. So Chief McDaniel has really enjoyed the installation of the camera and everything that we're doing to be able to broadcast tonight from the city's web page, or at least that you can go into YouTube, Zoom, and all of those things. So I'd like to thank him for all of the hard work that he's put in. I came here yesterday. he almost scared me to death because I just saw some legs sticking from up under the desk, and he was in here changing out all of the microphones. And last but not least, this has nothing to do with being the mayor, but it has more to do with being a proud parent. So I would like to let everybody know that our son, Christian Stewart, entered the 1,000 point club at Birmingham Southern College on Saturday with a 12 rebound performance. So there are very few individuals that are in the 1,000 point club. So I just wanted to give him a shout out as being the mayor, but also as being his dad. So Christian, we would just want to thank you for such a wonderful accomplishment. And now I think he will let me in the house since I've actually made that announcement. So we're just very, very proud of him. He's had a wonderful career there. He's actually exceeded his dad when it comes to playing basketball. So we're very proud of him. So that's all I have, Council President Spivey, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank
Well,
you.
I'm sorry. I will invite, I'm sorry, Ms. Mary, to come and to give us a presentation on the Main Street, what it means to be a Main Street city and all of the wonderful things that they can help us with to develop our downtown area.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the time tonight. Can you hear me? I've got a little, okay, good, because I've got a little cage thing underneath it. That seems to help a little bit. As Mayor said, I'm Mary Helmer-Worth. I'm with the Main Street program here in Alabama. Main Street is a 40-year-old model that works across the United States to revitalize downtowns and neighborhood commercial districts. We've been doing this a long time in a lot of different states, and it can be successful in every community we work in if the community is willing to work it. So that's always my main preach is it'll work if you want to work the particular program. We work in 4 points. Organization is about getting everybody singing out of the same songbook. So how do we can get both the public and the private side to agree that we need to do something within your most unique district in your community that identifies you as Irondale. The second one is design. It is about your buildings. It is about your streetscape, what you've got going on with the platform so you can view the trains, all that kind of, it's all about that, but it's also about entrances. It's about plants and trees, all of those kinds of things, everything visual that lies in the design realm. Promotion is to bring people back. Please let us all have shots by the end of May like they're saying we're going to, so we can get back to some sort of normalcy all over the United States. But promotion is meant to bring people back into the district. And it's that opportunity to sell the district as a place to live, work, and play. So there's opportunities to have people who don't live in the district, but also people from the outside. I was a local Main Street director myself for 10 years, and I remember having a big event in my community and listening to the people as they walked by going, I had no idea all this was here. And they lived there. They lived in our community, but they had never come downtown, except maybe to go to the city hall to pay the water bill or whatever, but they hadn't really done anything else. And then the last of the 4 points is economic vitality, and that's really understanding the economics of working with small businesses. So what we work on is understanding how to strengthen those existing businesses first before you look at business recruitment. It's very important that when you do a market analysis that it helps the existing businesses and doesn't always just bring in anybody else. Nothing upsets a business more when they've been kind of the cornerstone for the longest time than when you roll out the red carpet for somebody new and they're going, hey, I've been here for 50 years. So we want to work with those existing businesses first. So that's briefly our 4-point approach. What the mayor and I discussed, we have a couple of different levels of Main Street, is the possibility of Irondale coming in as a network city this year. And network is kind of tipping your toe in the Main Street water, trying to decide if we are a good fit for you and you're a good fit for us. Our offices are literally 5 minutes away. It was so easy for me to just pop over the hill and come and see you guys. But it's really an opportunity to help you decide, how do we organize this? What is the best way for us to be organized as a both public and private model? And what are our partners in the process? So we get to know each other and we get to know who you're already working with and what's the best way to make all of those partnerships work to your advantage. So that would be my suggestion, is that you look at being a network city for a year. It allows us to help you figure out the steps to become a designated program, and then in the following year, look at designation. If you're designated, we offer 3 big services in the first 3 years. The first one is a resource team. So we come in with a specialized group to work in each of those 4 points to really get to know your district and where it needs to go. So it's kind of that baseline, figuring out what do we need to do with your existing businesses? How do we make them stronger? How does the public feel about their district, and what can we do to get those 2 working together? And from that comes a strategic plan that takes you through the first 3 to 5 years of the program. It's a very important piece. In year 2, we come in and we do a market analysis, and the market analysis is specific to the district. So it's not a kind of a more standardized thing. Anybody can buy a report from Esri or Claritas anymore. Frankly, they're about $50 a piece to buy a report. But the interpretation of that data is so important, understanding what it means to your individual businesses. So when we put together the market analysis, we want to be able to have that data help the existing businesses. So that market analysis is important. Then in year 3, we come in and brand the district. So all of those are things that we pay for along the way. Those are services that we bring to you as a designated Main Street program. And that's if you go through the process and are selected as a designated program. So that's kind of the overall. I just wanted to give a real quick shout out about what we do. Like I said, it's been around for 40 years. I personally have been doing this for 20 years. 10 years as a local Main Street director has made me a true believer in how do you take a community, when I was a director, with 50% vacancy, 50% vacancy, to filling it up in 7 years. Now, you didn't do it overnight, but it did take us time to understand we had to work with the people who loved us, the people who were there all along first. Then once we got some things cooking, we knew we could get some other people interested in where we were at. So I've lived the world. I know how to do it. We've been doing it here in Alabama as a restart for the last 8 years. So like I said, we have those 2 levels, the network level, which is kind of tipping the toe in the water. We have 24 communities who are network right now, and then we have 28 designated communities that we work with across the state. So I'll stand for questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Mary?
Yes, Mayor, I did hear, I'm sorry, what's your name?
Mary,
Mary.
yes.
I did hear Ms. Mary mention that right now we'll be like a network community in the beginning. So did that involve any agreement between Main Street and the city of Irondale, or we just gave a verbal agreement that we could be a network city at this time?
Well, we just talked about the different ways of getting involved with Main Street, and because we've missed the application period for this year, if we become one of the network cities, it gives us a leg up as we apply to become a Main Street city in 2022.
Okay.
So the network fee is $500. That's it. I mean, there's no long-term agreement that you have to do it. If at the end of the year you go, hey, I'm not sure this is a great fit for us, that's fine. But that gives us time to come in and work with you and help build that organizational base. Do you have the support on both the public and private side to be a successful designated program?
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
What would you consider your top 3 successes communities?
Oh, gosh, that's like picking a favorite child. You know, I can't
I
do
know,
that.
but,
We have some, I would tend to have you look at ones that are more your size, so it's more comparable. But off the top of my head, I would say Jasper is a really good example of one that started with a mayor who got it, who understood how to get things moving forward, and also a downtown merchants association, and they work together. So Jasper's a really good one. Our smallest Main Street city is Heflin. Heflin's only, about 3,200? Wildly successful there. And then, of course, we're working here in Birmingham in the historic 4th Avenue Business District and with Rev Birmingham, too. So we've got 28. Generally, what I'd like to do is kind of look at your population and see what's a good match for you in particular. But I love them all, for the record.
Maybe I shouldn't have said favorite. Maybe I should have just said, what are some of your successes?
Yes.
Thank you.
But Jasper's close, Heflin's not far, it'd be good ones for you to visit. And of course, historic 4th Avenue Business District isn't far at all. And we are doing some work with, Daryl is the head of the historic 4th Avenue. And y'all know Daryl Washington already, so he can tell you about Main Street as well, so.
Thank you.
And then Mary, I'm happy to finally lay eyes on you. I know we, probably the beginning of my first term, I think we swapped a couple emails back and everything like that. So Mayor talked about this being on the agenda. I was really stoked that he was able to make that materialize and lock that down. So nice to finally lay eyes on you and everything like that, and look forward to working with you in the future.
We would be thrilled to work with Irondale. I've kind of, you hanker after different communities that you've been in and out of, so I was completely, when he called, I think I said, I'll be there the next day. It wasn't long I wanted to connect, because you're so close and you're so unique, and there's some cool things that could happen here, and you've got a mayor who gets it and the council who gets it. That makes a big difference. So what I handed out to you guys was our 2020 annual report, just telling you what our economic impact numbers were for 2020, even with COVID. What a weird year. Please don't let that be repeated. But it also tells you what we were doing for COVID relief within our communities. We did a lot of COVID resource teams in and out of communities, helping the existing businesses understand how to cope with COVID moving forward. Now we've kind of switched to doing business post-pandemic, because some of the things that have happened during COVID aren't going to go away. So we need to figure out how do we continue to move those things forward and keep people engaged and feeling safe long-term. So very proud of what we've been able to do on COVID stuff this last year.
One other question. Is this
Can I
the
go?
same? Sure, go ahead.
Yes. Mary, could you tell them what would be the cost to the city if we became a Main Street city?
If you became a designated Main Street city, our first year fee to us is $7,500. We spend about $60,000 in services in your first year. So we're not trying to make our money and have our program run off of what our cities pay. We know that's not gonna, in the long run, that's not gonna be sustainable for us or for you. So the first year we do the resource team, we really help you get organized and set up. And really that first year I'm in your community every month. You guys maybe more often because you're literally over the mountain to me. So it's pretty easy to get to you guys. In year 2, your fee is $5,000. That's the year we come in and do the market analysis, and we continue to help you get ready to go. In year 3, it's $3,000, and we do branding in the 3rd year. So our service cost to us doesn't really go down, but your cost goes down. And then after that, it's $1,500 a year. So it's not an expensive program, but you do have to have staff. And we want to make sure that the money that you raise, either through private or public, the majority of it goes to your district itself. So that's how we have decided to run our program. We're funded through some state funding, as well as, frankly, foundations who believe in what we do and want to see Alabama be better.
Is Main Street, that's part of the, what you did out here with the new lights and the pavilion?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Is this on? Is this thing's on? Testing
There you go.
1,
Now
2,
I can hear
testing
you.
1, 2. Main Street, are you part of what we did out front here with the lights and the pavilion? Is that the same?
That you may have done that with, okay, there's a little bit of history of Main Street in the state of Alabama. Main Street's at the national level came around in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s. 5 to 10 states came on as a part of the program at that point. Alabama was one, but it was located within the Alabama Historical Commission. And it ran there for 20 plus years. And in the late 90s, it became unfunded. And you went 10 years without a coordinating program here at all. So Main Street, as I know it now, was not involved in that project, but there were 10 years with no program at all, statewide program at all here in Alabama. So
Yep.
it's lovely, but I can't claim that.
Yes, the work that was done here was a grant that the city received through the federal government, and it was the streetscape project, which it sounds close to Main Street, but that was a grant that was funded through the federal government. I think it was $250,000 that allowed us to be able to do the work that took
Probably.
place here during that
Used to be
time.
called ICE-T, Intermodal Transportation,
Okay.
something. We got it way back when I was Main Street Director too.
Are you
Federal
in,
money.
are you in multiple states?
Oh, yeah, well, the state coordinating, yes. We have a national Main Street Center, it's in all 50 states. I only work in Alabama,
Okay.
so.
Did y'all do any work in Madison, Mississippi?
There is a state program in Mississippi, to Mississippi Main Street there,
Okay.
so I don't know if that's one of theirs or not.
Okay.
So, great program though, Mississippi's running a good program over there.
Question for you, Mary. We're in the process of getting our comprehensive plan kind of refreshed. How does Main Street complement, cooperate? How do you work with a comprehensive plan? Or are y'all working in any communities where that comprehensive plan is in place and actively being worked on?
Yes, and one of the things, we always want to honor the plans that have already been put in place, because we know that you have invested in those, and we don't want to say, throw that out and start all over again because Main Street's here. That's not how we roll. So we want to look at plans that have already been done, but in my experience, typically, a comprehensive plan is very high level, and there's not a ton of detail about a particular district. So in some cases, we will try to get in while they're doing the comprehensive plan, and we did it kind of in Calera. Calera is one of our newer cities. We had gone in and done our resource team, and then they worked on a comprehensive plan, and we asked them, can you adopt, once you approve it and everybody's happy, but can you adopt the work that we have done on downtown as a part of the overall comprehensive plan? So but usually it's a paragraph or two that says you really need to do something with your downtown. So hopefully, if we get in ahead of time, hopefully we can get a little more juice on that. Sometimes, but comprehensive plans tend to be very broad in nature. We want to come in and maybe do a master plan that's a lot more in depth on development here, development there, and, what are resources to get this done.
Understood. Thank you.
But it's good that you're doing a comprehensive plan. That's a big thumbs up, so.
Any follow-up questions for the young lady?
Give a call or anything?
I do, I'll grab one out of I'll hand them to you and hand around, if that worked out, okay. I can do that.
Thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you guys very
Thank
much
you.
for your attention, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Mayor, does that conclude your report this evening?
Yes.
Outstanding. All right, let's see here. At this point, members of the city council, the city needs to, goodness gracious, might have to bump that font up a little bit. Members of the city council, the city needs to convene an executive session for two purposes. One, to discuss with the attorney the legal ramifications of a legal opinion, controversies not yet being litigated, but immediately likely to be litigated. And number two, to discuss preliminary negotiations involving matter of trade or commerce in which the city of Irondale is in competition with other governmental entities in Alabama. Ms. Danielson, do you have an opinion on whether it would be proper to go into executive session?
I do, yes. I have looked at this and believe that an executive session would be proper here under Alabama Code 3625A, 7A3, and also A7.
Okay. That being said, I need a motion to go into executive session.
Motion.
Motion on the floor. Councilwoman Cuellar has made a motion that this body enter an executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Councilman Wilson has seconded the motion. Mr. Pennington, please conduct a roll call vote of this motion. Councilman London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Those present are advised that this body has voted to enter into executive session as required by law. Any deliberation between the members of this body related to the issues will be conducted in an open portion of meeting where the city council reconvenes immediately following the conclusion of the executive session. The council expects to reconvene in approximately 20 minutes. At the conclusion of the executive session, the city council will now enter an executive session.
Are we gonna go to chambers?
Yes, sir. All right, thank you, everyone, for giving us a moment to go through that. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the City Council's executive session. We find ourselves back in to our regular council meeting. So our next order of business would be our department head reports. I know we have a few department heads with us tonight. Is there any of those heads that would like to give us a report tonight? Good? Fair enough. Thank you very much. Now we come down to our council member reports. Councilman London, would you like to start us off?
Yes, just one. I just want to also congratulate Mr. Stewart there for 1,000 Point Club. I'm a Birmingham Southern alumni, so I always like to see my alumni do well. And also Chase Valley graduate, Alabama Irondale Youth Basketball Program, just went from the baby all the way up. So we're just proud of you here in Irondale, and as your city council, former city council person, and former Birmingham Southern alumni, we celebrate you today. But I did whisper in his ear, Mr. Stewart, that if I was guarding him, he probably wouldn't have got that 1,000.
Oh, man. Chrissy, he won't let it go.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Councilwoman Cuellar, your report, please, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here, and especially thank you for your patience during the time that we were out in executive session. Look forward to hearing comments from you. I've appreciated the comments that I've been receiving from many of my constituents. And for those that I haven't met personally that are here tonight, I hope to meet you sometime after the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Box?
Thank you, sir. Just echoing everybody else's sentiments concerning Mr. Stewart's points and Councilman Cuellar's generous comments there of y'all's patience during the executive session. One thing, just remember, I am public safety, not public works and library. And so at this point in time, I do intend to start getting together with our first responders now that we've gotten our feet wet and some things, and seeing how we can better support them and things we can do for them. And then as far as the library goes, I'm welcome to comments from any of the citizens or the library members of things that we might need to work on for them as well. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir. And Councilman Wilson?
Thank you, Council President. First, I want to thank the Public Works Department, the workers. They did a good job well done for Trash Amnesty Day. I think District 5 was the last district that came through, and I appreciate the mayor for extending that day or two due to inclement weather. So the constituents in District 5, we really appreciated that, so thanks a lot. Also, I just want to congratulate Christian on the job well done. You know, I've also seen him grow up for many, many years, so I was proud of him. So keep up the good work, and, you know, just don't take it easy on Councilman London. I know he always try to, you know, tease you and stuff, but take it easy on him.
That was 40 years ago now. 40 years.
Yeah. Also, I want to send condolences to Tony Williams. Tony Williams, he was a citizen here in the city of Irondale. He passed last week. Just want to send condolences to him and his family. Tony was he was a great leader here in the city. He put in a lot of time with kids at the park, football, and you know, it was just a sad occasion of his sudden death. So I just want to send condolences to Tony Williams and his family. Also, I just want to let everyone know that I'm part of a council roundtable. Not only myself, but Council President Spivey. And we have been in discussions with some other councilors around Jefferson County to not only share best practices, but to, you know, kind of see what the issues are around Jefferson County. No, we're not trying to become mayors. I know I'm not. You couldn't pay me enough to do that. But we're just trying to come together and, you know, trying to work together for a regional good, and also just to see what's out there that we could kind of bounce some ideas off of. And I think it's a very good idea that, you know, you got some counselors that can actually come together and communicate and, you know, kind of share some good practices. So just want to let everyone know that. Also, there will be a judicial ordinance meeting that will be held on March the 17th at 5 o'clock. That will take place right before our council meeting that starts at 6. So councilors, if you would, please notate your schedules and that we'll have that meeting on March the 17th at 6 o'clock. During that meeting, we will be discussing signs that, of course, that will be constructed within the city limits. We also will be talking about tethering. I know we talked about that previously. And also cars parked in the front yard. Not only cars parked in the front yard, but working on cars in your front yard. So those are just a few things that will come up during that time. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. As far as my report goes, I know a few nights back we had, I don't think it was confirmed tornado or anything, but we had some severe weather that rolled through. I think it was Monday night, early in the morning, and obviously some damage to one of the storage facilities down by Shades Creek, and we had some trees come down and a power pole that was leaning. So our first responders, police, fire, and then Public Works, obviously. I think y'all found yourself in kind of a first responder type of situation a few times. So I just want to take a moment to thank those departments for getting out there early and hitting the streets and making sure that everything was safe and tidy for our citizens so they could get out and start doing life. And thankfully no one it appears to have been injured in that weather. But regardless, just job well done by our workers there to make sure that everything was handled and cleaned up. That concludes my report.
Council President, one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Brother, Councilman Wilson mentioned Tony Williams. I have a card here, a sympathy card. I want all the council to sign, Mayor, and anyone else who knew Tony, I would love to sign the sympathy card. I'm going to take it to his family on that day, tomorrow. Thank you. And also, Mayor, could you have Public Works to go by Beacon? I think there's a swing missing off one of the swings up there.
Oh, okay.
Just kind of take a look at it. Thank you.
Can I comment just real quick, Council President? That was addressed last week. Donna Newsom, she did give me some information on that. The swing has been ordered. Well, thank you so much for reminding me. You know, I'm over 50 years old, so I can't think about everything. So the swing has been ordered. So it should be in any minute, any moment, sometime next week, hopefully. And Mr. Pennington, Frank, I appreciate you getting involved as well. Not only by ordering that equipment that's missing, but also kind of touching up as far as the mulch and everything else up there at Beacon Park. So hopefully we'll have that soon. Also, while we're talking about park, I done just started into something else. Do you
You're
mind?
good. Go for it.
Okay, just real quick. I would like for us to look into the track itself up at Beacon. It's cracked. It's very uneven. I know I mentioned this before back in November or December, but Mayor, I know we talk about capital projects and things like that, so I really wish that we could kind of consider doing something with the track up at Beacon Park. I know we haven't done any remodeling or anything in quite a while as far as the track is concerned. So if we could kind of get that on the radar, I would appreciate that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sirs. All right. Now, at this point, we find ourselves looking for any reports of boards or non-council committees. Okay. We find ourselves now at the time to deliberate on the agenda items only. We've got one item of unfinished business, and then we have 7 items of new business. So, in regards to unfinished business, resolve that Resolution 2021-R06, which authorizes a moratorium on many warehouses and/or storage businesses within Irondale city limits as ratified as written, be ratified as written. This was something we discussed and we decided to move forward on. We've just finally put ink to paper in order to make this official. Councilman London, do you have any questions on item number 1?
No question.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
No questions.
Councilman Box?
No question.
Councilman Wilson?
No.
Perfect. Would we be willing to consider item number 1 on consent?
I can.
Yes.
Everybody says yes?
Yes.
Outstanding. All right. Moving on to new business. Resolve that Resolution 2021-R15 authorizes execution of an engagement letter with Wallace Jordan Ratliff and Brandt LLC for representation of City of Irondale in opioid matters. I know we've been discussing a little bit of this. Councilman London, do you have any follow-up questions?
No question.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
No questions.
Councilman Box?
None.
Councilman Wilson?
No.
Outstanding. Would we be willing to resolve that on consent?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
That was unanimous. Perfect. New business item number 2, resolve that resolution 2021 R16 approves the execution of a master tax exempt lease purchase agreement. Councilman London, do you have any questions on that?
I don't, but I just do have, just the mayor, not the mayor, but where's McDaniel? He's here.
Chief McDaniel?
Chief McDaniel, just to kind of explain to the people what we're talking about with that.
Can you multitask? Okay.
Yeah.
So as far as on the master lease agreement, it's for transport units, equipment to go on those transport units, because there are some expensive equipment that goes along with that. And then with some vehicles on there that are part of the lease purchase as well. So it's money that was in the budget that you approved under our lease purchase agreements line item. But that's just, it's basically the 2 transport units, the equipment goes on that, and department vehicle.
Are you satisfied, Councilman London?
Yeah, I just don't.
Okay. Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yeah, I know that, excuse me, I know that the response time was an issue, and that was why there was a decision to go on and look at this and move towards this. What is the average response time for using the EMS transport services that are currently in place right now?
With the EMS transport service, it's so far all over the place. I mean, we averaged, I know last week we had 3 that were over 30 minutes, but it's going to be from the time we get the call till they get there. I mean, it's more than 5 minutes, upward of 10 to 12 minutes.
Okay.
Whereas here, we get the call, we're going when we go, so.
Okay. Have our residents been complaining about the response times? Is that the reason that we're doing this?
No, we've had some complaints on some of the longer ones. The problem is it's just gotten to where the response times have gotten worse, and it's when we had the conversation within the departments, like I said, my job here is to take care of the employees that work here in the fire department. My job is also to take care of the citizens that live in this community and do what's best for them. And we're one of the few departments in this area that does not transport through their own department, especially in the Jefferson County. And so I think doing this is providing the best service to our citizens. Their citizens get their fire department, and their fire department is who takes them to the hospital, and we ensure that we give them the best care. Not saying that the ambulance doesn't, but these are our citizens, and we're going to make sure they get the same care from when we get on scene to when they get to the hospital.
Okay. So are we paying anything for the EMS transport services that are currently being provided?
We do not.
We don't pay anything. Okay.
And-
So here's what I'm looking at here. This lease is for $862,930 over a 5-year term. And then we're at $172,586 per year. And this is for 2 ambulances and 4 F-150 trucks. Now, with this in mind, we do know that EMS transport services are provided regardless of a person's ability to pay. In other words, no one can be turned away. So what percentage of these transport services do you estimate we will be able to collect on?
So I think we're going to have, we were talking with the billing company, with the billing department that we're looking at using and their recovery. I think we're going to have a pretty high return rate just because of looking at the people that we respond on over the last 3 years. Those are people that are either going to be on Medicare, Medicaid, or we do have a large amount of younger working in the medical field, people that are moving into here that have insurance. And so there's going to be some, but when we did the numbers here, I spoke with several departments that do transporting, and those numbers are based off of an average number of when people that don't pay versus getting full pay from insurance. So those numbers that we have for the money that we bring in are averaged on anticipating that we don't collect some.
But we don't have a percentage of what we.
No, unless we had the ambulance company's financial records to know who has insurance and who doesn't, and they can't share that because of HIPAA.
Okay. What, in your estimation, you mentioned a company that's gonna be collecting the fees. Is there a fee that they're gonna be charging the city for doing the service, providing the service?
Yes, and we have that contract that hopefully will be, for you guys to look at by next council meeting, that the attorneys have finished looking at, but it would be, essentially, there's some one-time setup fees. They would help us get established with Medicare, Medicaid, Blue Cross to be able to build them. And then there's a $30 per report that they file for us to, that we pay them, or that they collect from before we get our money.
Okay. Now, what estimates do you have on our annual liability insurance premiums are gonna be per year for these vehicles and for everything that we're doing?
So as far as our liability that we carry currently, as far as EMS, we're not going to have to up that. We already carry, I believe it's $2 million, correct, Mr. Stewart?
Yes, we cover 2 million, and also the fire department insurance is separate from what we carry here at the city. So they have a different carrier than, even though Cobb's Allen is the broker, we have Travelers, and I can't really think of the name of their insurance, but those vehicles are replacement vehicles. So of course, we're gonna have a little additional expense because of those vehicles, but those are things that need to be replaced in the fleet anyway. We've basically built that into the budget. When it comes to the municipal leases for vehicles, the council has already adopted the budget to allow us to be able to do it. And these expenses are not going to hit the books until 2022. So we have a period of time to be able to determine a lot of the things that you're asking, Counselor.
Right, and that was the reason I was asking the questions, because I wasn't aware of these costs and how this whole process was working. And you know, for example, we're gonna increase the salaries, $468,000, based on approximately 9 new employees for this transport service. But we also have increases in FICA, state pension, employee benefits, employee physicals and
Yep.
medical exams, fuels and lubricants for
All-
these vehicles, uniform expense, paramedic supplies, EMS medications, and so on.
Yes, ma'am,
So
and
when-
all of that was
so-
in the
right,
current budget that you just
So when you
passed.
take all of these expenditures into account, did you consider looking into having other EMS transport service providers to lower our response times?
Yes, ma'am. So let me just give you a little background on that. The private ambulance service that we were using, the issue is they have a contract. They are under contract with St. Clair County. They can't meet the contract with St. Clair County. They get fined for these, whatever they do. So they're already paying fines, or however they deal with what they get fined. We're not in St. Clair County, but it's rolled into Jefferson County now. This is the same company. And this is what has been one of the better of the private ambulances as far as being available and having them. So we had Cahaba Valley that was helping to back them up when they couldn't make calls. So we were having Cahaba Valley respond a lot, enough to the point that they had to back out and tell them that they could no longer do it because they weren't able to cover their district the way that they needed to, because there were so many calls that they couldn't make it to. So it just comes down to, and when I told Mr. Stewart this, some people, or Mayor, I'm sorry, when I told the mayor this, I never wanted to sell it as this was going to be something that was going to make money to the city, or even to tell you that we're going to break even. What I told him was, we have to just determine what somebody's life's worth, because the longer we let this problem go on, the more likely we are for something bad to happen. And
Okay, fair enough.
it's my job to let you guys
But-
know that, and that's,
Fair enough, but my final question here is, when you take all of these expenditures into account that I've noted, did you consider doing a lease for one ambulance and 2 fire trucks and having the EMS Transport Services as backup to start off? Did you consider doing that?
So we have some responsibility when we do that to have a unit that's ready to go if that one goes down because of our EMS license with the state. And I don't believe in doing something if we're not going to do it right. And the only right way to do it is to have a truck that's ready to go, or that truck is there if we get so busy that it can be used for a second vehicle to make another transport if we had a major wreck or natural disaster, or we just got busy, that we needed that truck, that it's there and we can make other transports on it. Not that it will be staffed all the time, but it's there to be available if we need it and we can't get another ambulance if our current ambulance is out of the city for a transport.
If I may for a moment, I know that I did not put any timeline on these questions tonight, but we are getting actually close to exceeding our 10-minute rule. Councilwoman
That was my
Cuellar?
last
That was your
question.
last question?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you very much. Councilman Box?
Just one quick question last time, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Since we're actually going to be doing the billing, or actually going to engage a company to do the billing, and we're going to be providing these services predominantly to the citizens of Irondale, of course, there may be some people that are coming through in car wrecks or walking through and have an incident like that. I know in an experience that I had to pay for an ambulance personally. My insurance wouldn't cover it because it was not an Irondale vehicle. So with that said, in billing the citizens of Irondale that are the taxpayers, which is where these funds are coming from, is there going to be different levels of billing for the citizens that are already paying their taxes to fund this program? We definitely need to have citizens pay something, and then a different level for individuals that may not be a citizen that have a tragedy coming through the city.
Yes, sir, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but if I'm not mistaken, in the contract, they talk about, they bill the insurance. If they don't have collection from that, it would really be up to the city to make a judgment on how you wanted to bill that out. If we want to send that to collections, they would, they have a company they would send it to go to collections if you wanted it to be in collections for so long. And that's kind of decisions that the city will have to make on as far as how you want to do that with those kinds of things. If you want to bill just what the insurance is going to pay and that's it, or if you want to, if we have a set cost and we say the insurance doesn't pay a certain portion, we're going to bill that to the person, or they're a citizen and we're just going to bill what insurance pays. So that would come back to the city to make that decision.
Okay, very good. So that there is a benefit for the citizens having this service, or a possible benefit for the citizens having this service at a discounted rate, as opposed to having to pay EMS their full charges.
Yes, yes, sir.
Oh, no more questions.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Wilson?
Yeah, I'm trying to go back. He said we will have separate payments of $172,000. I see that somewhere. That's what I'm trying to look for, which we had already included in the budget. And I was looking at the budget as far as seeing what the lease of equipment is. So it would be covered since we did put it in the budget.
Yes,
We did
sir.
have it included in the
Yes, sir.
budget.
All of the expenses that we anticipated with this, with employee cost, uniform cost, even additional medical supplies, as well as down to the lease payments of the vehicles, we added all of those into the budget with those anticipated. We, through talking to other agencies that do this and what good numbers, established agencies that know what their numbers are, so.
Okay.
Did you find the page you were looking for? I've got it right here if you'd like it.
You do?
I believe that's what you're looking for.
That's it. That's the schedule. Okay. Yeah, I got it. Cool. Thank you.
Are you good?
I'm good.
Thank you, Councilman. And then, just to reiterate something, Chief, like the mayor stated, these were funds that were approved in our budget that we recently passed, but that first payment wouldn't even be due until the next fiscal year. So therefore, we've got a lot of, use a bad word here, but we've got a lot of padding in order to kind of ease into this and prepare for any of those other expenses that might come with this.
Absolutely. I mean, we have that, and plus we have, 4 or 5 months into the fiscal year now, we have those employee salaries that we haven't spent through this year either. So we have some, you know, especially for this fiscal year, to make any kind of additions that we couldn't anticipate to be able to be covered.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if I can just add one more thing, and, you know, we talked about this transport agency and about the citizens. The other aspect of it that, you know, when we talked about it is the same issues we're having with delays are the same ambulances that are delayed if one of our police officers gets injured or one of our people get injured on a fire. We don't have, in those situations, we don't have time to wait for them to get there. So, you know, it's taking care of our city employees as well, not just the citizens. And I think it's the best thing all the way around. I do appreciate the support in this. Thank you.
Appreciate you, sir.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. As far as that item is concerned, do we want to put it up for a vote, or is that something we can add on consent? Councilman London,
I'm good with consent.
you're good with consent? Councilman Cuellar?
I'm not comfortable, thank you.
Understood. All right. Moving on to item number 3, new business. Resolve the resolution 2021 R17 adopts the fiscal year 2021 capital budget for the water department for $6.2 million. Mayor, could you tell us just a little bit about that, how we came to that number, and just maybe refresh the public's memory?
We had a water department, a water board meeting at the last council meeting. And Jared Mars, who is the superintendent over the water department, gave a presentation, basically laid out to everyone why these improvements are necessary. And he was asked the question, could he prioritize any of them? And he stated that all of them was a priority, because when a citizen doesn't have access to water, then it becomes important to everybody. We also talked about that we had not done any major improvements to the water system since 2014. I think that was the last time that money was set aside to be able to do capital improvements for the water system. And if you have a system, you need to do improvements really on an annual basis, because the longer you push them out, it began to cost you more money. So he's put together a great plan with the engineers that work with him in the water department. They've identified these items as needs, and we are proposing a capital budget of $6.2 million to be able to meet those needs, to make sure that the citizens of Irondale can continue to receive water.
Thank you, sir. Councilman London?
No question.
All right. Councilwoman Cuellar?
No questions.
Councilman Box?
No question.
Councilman Wilson?
No questions, but I appreciate Jared sending the summary of all the capital improvements. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And then myself, no questions. In regards to item number 3, could we consider that on consent? Is there
Yes.
anybody? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Councilman Box?
Yes.
And then Councilman London?
Yes.
All right, outstanding. Item number 4, Resolution 2021 R18 authorizes the mayor to execute an agreement with, sorry, one second. Authorizes, there was some typos there, some words changed. Resolution 2021 R18, the City Council of Irondale Mayor James Stewart is authorized to execute an agreement with BMSS LLC to perform the city's annual financial audit for the sum of $60,000 plus costs and expenses provided for in the agreement. Councilman London?
No question.
No questions? Councilwoman Cuellar?
No questions.
Councilman Box?
No question.
Councilman Wilson?
No.
Okay. And myself, no questions. Is item number 4 something that we could put on consent? Is there
Yes.
anybody that's
Yes.
opposed to that?
Go ahead.
No one opposed to item number 4 going on consent? Okay. Item number 5. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Irondale that Mayor James D. Stewart Jr. is authorized to execute a municipal advisory agreement with Terminus Municipal Advisors LLC to perform general municipal and transaction advisory services as set forth in the agreement, and the cost on that was $25,000. Councilman London, do you have any
I-
questions?
I got a question. Mayor, could you kind of go through this one more time? Just kind of refresh my memory on
Okay.
this particular agreement.
Well, to my knowledge, the city has never had a municipal financial advisor. And because everything is getting more sophisticated and you really need to be educated in that arena to know exactly what you're doing, you need to be able to have resources outside of the city to be able to handle those issues. We have quite a few of, I would say, large transactions, for the upcoming year. We have a $6.2 million capital budget that we're trying to identify what's the best way to be able to fund those capital items. I haven't submitted the capital budget to you from the city side, but we also have some issues that we're going to do there. We also talked about the possibility of refunding a bond issue. And when you refund a bond issue, one of the things that you need to know that the underwriter is never working for you, but the underwriter is working for themselves to be able to sell the bonds. Therefore, there's no one in the hen house to be able to watch exactly what's going on. It's almost allowing the fox to have access to the hen house when you allow the individual that is selling the bonds to also dictate the terms and the interest rates and the maturity rates that go along with issuing bonds. Therefore, as we move forward, I feel that it is important for the city that has almost a $30 million budget to be able to have municipal professionals around to be able to provide you with that additional advice. So Mac Underwood, who is one of the individuals that will be working with the city, has a very extensive financial background. He was the finance director for the city of Birmingham. He was the CEO for the Birmingham Waterworks. So we want to be able to capitalize on that knowledge that he has to be able to provide it here at the city. Also, Matthew Arrington is his partner that will be working with him, will help us as we enter into the possibility of thinking about refunding bond issues as well as some of the projects that we're going to have in the future. They are currently working with the city of Birmingham, the city of Montgomery, the Birmingham Waterworks, and Jefferson County. So although they are stationed out of Atlanta, they do extensive work in our area. And the way that we would pay for this $25,000, we would like to split $12,500 between the city and $12,500 between the waterworks, because we will be using them to provide us financial advice in both areas.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilman London?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, is any of those guys here tonight?
Mr. Underwood is here, sitting right there.
Oh, I thought I recognized you. You got old.
Yeah, you can come up.
I just had one question, Mr. Underwood, my glasses on. Dorville, Georgia, where is that? Just going through your brochure, I saw a big
I'm not-
project y'all did in Dorville, Georgia.
I think it's a little bit north of Atlanta, but we do work in Douglasville, Georgia,
Right.
Rockdale County, Georgia, and Macon County, Georgia.
It was a nice project in Dorville, Georgia, y'all had in your syllabus. I was trying to figure out where Dorville, Georgia was.
I'm not sure. I'm stationed here in Birmingham.
Right.
Matthew Arrington and David Corbin
Corbin.
both live in Atlanta, so they work the Atlanta area exclusively over there.
I figured that.
I'm not sure where that is.
Okay, thank you, sir. That's it, Mr. President.
Councilman Cuellar?
Yes, there were a few things that were in this agreement that made me a little bit uncomfortable, and that is, not only will the city pay $25,000 for the annual fees, but then if we do decide to issue bonds for the capitalization of projects, the city will pay Terminus $1.25 per $1,000 of bonds issued by the city, subject to a minimum fee of $25,000. So, for example, if the city were to issue a $10 million bond, if you calculate that, that's $12,500. But because of the minimum, it's $25,000. So it's not just $25,000 per year, but it's $25,000 if you decide to issue bonds. Now, the other thing is that we're also to pay for out-of-pocket expenditures that are incurred in providing the service to the city. And in talking about underwriters and bond counsels and so on, the city will pay all cost of issuing any notes or bonds, including underwriting, bond counsel, underwriters counsel, rating fees, trustee fees, verification fees, certificate fees, CUSIP fees, printing, posting costs, and any other such costs of issuing bonds or other other debt instruments. Gentlemen, this is why we get bids from underwriters, so that we can make sure that the city's best interests are being met. This is why we get bids from bond counsel, so that we can make sure that our best interests are being met, and it's not just one underwriter that we look at. Now, the other thing that I want to mention is that there are 2 members of this council body that have experience in finance. One of them is a branch manager of Regions Bank, and I served in the banking industry for 15 years, all right? And I earned a Series 6, a Series 7, and a Series 63 securities and financial industry licenses. So I have a lot of experience in this. Now, gentlemen, I can't speak for you because I don't know about your financial knowledge or experience, but 2 of us do have this knowledge and experience. We are a small municipality. We're projected to have $2 million in revenues, and what we need to be doing is being better stewards. And what do I mean by that? We're projected to make $23 million. We're projected to make a $2 million surplus. When I took a look at those revenues, $3.7 million of those revenues were occupational tax license fees. So if I subtract those occupational tax license fees of 3.7 from the 23 million, we're left with $17.3 million. We cannot pay our budgeted expenditures of $21 million when we're not having the revenue coming in. Now, here's the good news. The good news is that the previous administration left us in a fairly strong financial position. We have a little under $6 million in reserves and a little over $19 million in unrestricted and restricted funds. And our bond debt has been lowered from $57 million to $42 million. We also have some sales tax revenue coming in with the Chevron, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut convenience store, and 18 gas pump that's going to be opening around May or June of this year. We have the grocery store and other developments that are scheduled to begin this year, and some are estimated to open for business towards the end of 2022. So we really need to stay the course in cutting down on wasteful and non-essential spending such as this, and remain focused on projects that are going to increase our revenues, because we've already promised some people that we're going to do away with the occupational tax. We can't do it right now. So we need to focus on increasing our revenues without increasing our $42 million in debt.
I have a question.
One moment. Does that conclude your question?
Yes.
Okay. Mayor, would you like to address any of those aspects of that question?
Yes, I mean, just a few minutes ago, I heard that it was only 2 people up here that actually had
On the council.
experience in how to be able to handle a bond issue. But I would say that I've been to New York 4 times and presented before. I mean, I would be willing to put my resume up against anybody on the council when it comes to finances, and especially municipal finances. Now, if it's anybody up there who's been to New York 4 times and made a presentation before the S&P to be able to get the city a bond rating, then I would take my hat off to them and say, hey, they know way more than I do. I have an accounting background. I have an MPA. I've worked as a city clerk for 8 years, so I've been around putting together the information to go into an official statement and to be able to go before bond underwriters. I've had conversations with bond underwriters, you name it. I've been able to do that, and I've done it over a long period of time. However, I am smart enough to recognize that you don't operate on your own self. Just because I have the knowledge to be able to do it, I don't do that every day. I'm not in that industry every day. I'm not sitting there with the underwriter when they are pricing the bonds to be able to determine the rate and the amount that the city is going to receive. So I'm smart enough to realize that I don't have all of the knowledge to be able to do that. And my job is to make sure that we are a good steward of the city finances, and that's why I don't have an ego issue to be able to bring somebody else in to be able to do the work. I think it's a very astute and very smart when you try to get people that are smarter than you to be able to do the job. I think when John Maxwell talks about leadership, he talks about that if you want to be a good leader, you surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, because if you just got people that are not smarter than you, then what's the use of having them there in the first place? Also, I want to make sure that I, correct the deal about the fees. Every bond issue that you have, all of those fees that you mentioned, Councilwoman Cuellar, those fees come out of the proceeds of the bonds. If you get any other financial advisor, the $25,000 that he mentioned as a standard, or you mentioned as a part of their agreement, that's in all financial advisors' agreement. So if you travel in this arena, you would be familiar with those things to know that what's in that agreement is standard in all municipal financial advisors'
That's only
agreements.
if we have a financial advisor, sir. That
Well,
is not.
He
that is
asked me
not-
to speak. He didn't ask you to respond to my speech.
Councilwoman,
He
Mayor
asked me,
has
did
the-
I want to
the mayor
speak to
does
the
have the
issue?
floor.
I gave you the respect when you were giving your dissertation on why we shouldn't have a municipal financial advisor. I didn't butt in, and I asked you to give me the same respect.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Box?
The only question I would ask is that minimum fee negotiable? So Mayor, just a little explanation on that. I'm a businessman, not in finance, but the $1.25, or as she was talking about, a $12,500, it would then become a $25,000 charge. Is that negotiable, or is that just a standard industry practice?
Well, everything is negotiable. So it's negotiable.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
That's the only question I have.
Thank you. Councilman Wilson?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you, and nor do I. Thank you for standing up here and answering any potential questions, sir. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone that would object to that item being placed on consent?
I'm good with it.
I'm not good with it.
Okay, understand. So that item will come up for a vote. Item number 6, and this is an ordinance number 2021-02, provides for certain improvements to streets and public ways in the Mountain Lake Estates subdivision according to the public improvements and assessment process set forth under Alabama law. Councilman London, do you have any questions on this?
No, I got my question answered earlier.
You're good?
All my question answered earlier, yes.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Cuellar?
I do have some questions. Councilman Box, you live in this neighborhood, don't you?
I do.
Okay, so my question is, how long have the residents known about the deteriorating conditions of the roads and the bridge?
Well, we were advised by the mayor, I think it was 2 years ago now. And basically, the former administration removed our fire coverage, removed our life services, and removed everything within about a 2-week notice. We started trying to raise the funds ourselves to make the correction. But as we started going out for bid, we saw that it was a bigger nut than we could handle as a group of 30 residences. And so at that point in time, we asked the city to help us, but the former administration was not amiable to do that. We then engaged an attorney, and the attorney came in, and within 24 hours, the mayor rescinded his decision and modified our fire service so that we didn't have to go back to our personal insurance companies and possibly put ourselves in jeopardy of having mortgages called due. The former administration called me as the president of Mountain Lake Estates right before the election and said he had found a path that the city could help us in. When I presented that out there, many of our residents were amiable to it. Right after that call, now Mayor Stewart called and said he had a pathway to do the same thing. What I can't understand is when we were told over 2 years ago that this was going to happen, why didn't the city offer to help us then? Because we asked, I came before the city council several times asking for help. And then now there's a pathway to do it that will, yes, cost the citizens some, but it's also protecting the city's investments in their fire trucks, in their ambulances, in their personnel that are coming across it. The deterioration of the bridges are a matter of opinion, so I'll say this, that we have had practical application of 50 and 60-ton vehicles crossing this same bridge constantly, up to as recent as probably 2 weeks ago. So I'm not sure the fire trucks weigh 50 or 60 tons, but because of the possibility of an injury, it came out that the former administration decided to do away with our fire and life services that we won back after engaging an attorney. Now we have an opportunity to work together with the city. We will actually be reimbursing the city through this program for 50% of the cost plus interest on what the city lays out for us in the beginning. The city will actually work with our people, taking our plans, plus if theirs can be approved, if ours can be approved upon their plans, to bring this bridge into compliance with what the city wishes. As far as it goes right now, we drive trucks across it every day that don't have a problem. But the city has asked that we make the improvements, so it's only right that the city should help us, since the city has a vested interest in their equipment coming across the bridges as well.
Right, and in the lives of people that are coming across the bridge as well also. One of the things that I just need some help with is I'm aware of a Attorney General opinion from June 24th of 2019. And if the city's going to be funding part of it, how is this not in violation of that Attorney General opinion, which said the city of Irondale may not expend municipal funds or lend its credit for the repair and/or replacement of private roads and bridges in a private gated community located in the city? How are we not in violation of that?
This ordinance states that there is a public purpose in the city actually protecting its assets, such that whenever the city is out there, that they do not sustain any damage to their trucks. That would be a question for the city council to actually ascertain as to whether or not that is a public purpose.
Okay. Okay. And then the other thing, for the benefit of those of you that are here, there will be a hearing, a public hearing on April the 21st at 6 p.m. here at City Hall. And everyone is invited to come and ask additional questions and voice your support, voice your opposition. This is taxpayer money, and so this is why this hearing is going to be held. But one thing that I do want to state is it's important that we do work with this community. I understand about the need to have services provided. So as long as we're not in violation of the Attorney General's opinion, I'm fine with it, but I need assurances that we're not in violation of it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can I address one thing on that?
Yes, sir, your
April,
comment is next, Councilman Box.
Thank you, sir. Is an Attorney General's opinion an order?
It does not have the force of law. No, it does not.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's all.
Thank you. Councilman Wilson?
No, April just explained for public purpose. I mean, that's basically what I needed to know, so I'm good.
Perfect. And Ms. Danielson, just something to reiterate. I know that this discussion on this ordinance tonight if and when it passes, basically gets the ball rolling, gets the process started. There's still designs that have to be done, and the members of the community, 2/3 at least, have to agree on that.
No, basically what this ordinance does is it does, start the process going. From this point forward, there will be plans that will be drawn up. They will be placed in the city, at a place that will be noticed, such that the residents can come out and they can see that. At the April 21st, city council meeting, then those will be discussed, and there won't be any work completed until that particular day, when the city council looks at those particular plans, and they actually approve those. At that point, that's when work would start. If 2/3 of if a majority of the residents came out and they were in opposition to it, then at that point, that would be 2/3 of the city council that would actually have to vote in favor of this to override that objection.
2/3 of the council, not the citizens. I misspoke. Thank you for that clarification.
Right.
Understood. All right, we've gone through, we've asked our questions. That's going to be an ordinance, so that cannot be on consent. So I'll be looking for some help as we move through that process. We find ourselves at our last item with new business, item number 7. Resolve that ordinance 2021-03 provides for certain improvements to streets and public ways in the old Overton subdivision according to the public improvement and asset process set forth under the Alabama law. Basically the exact same subject matter, but just involving 2 different areas of the city. Councilman London, do you have any questions regarding that?
Got them all answered earlier.
Fantastic. Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes, some questions. Mayor Stewart, you live in this neighborhood, don't you? Right?
Yes, I live in this neighborhood. I've been living there for 6 years.
Okay. I do recall at the council meeting that was held in 2018 that members of the neighborhood approached the city council to request funds to help them with the cost to repair the streets. Now, they noted that they had collected most of the revenues through their HOA to repair the streets, but they were $70,000 short. Since this time, has there been any effort to raise the $70,000
That was
more?
not our community that came forth and said that. Our community came forth when Mayor Alexander was the mayor, and at that time, the council had committed to be able to help the subdivision. And over the last 4 years, nothing has taken place from 2016 to 2020. So there are 3 members here from the executive board from the neighborhood, and I think they will be able to tell you they have not been down here to City Hall to ask for any money over the last 4 years. And we definitely didn't say that we only needed $70,000 to be able to complete the project. But since I live there, my preference is for Ken and Eric to come up and to be able to speak to the issue. And if I need to fill in the blanks for anything, that would be my preference.
If y'all could please come up and answer any questions that the council may have going forward.
Good evening, how are y'all?
Good evening.
Councilwoman
Ken
Cuellar,
Dowdy.
1 second for me. Councilwoman Cuellar, you do have the floor at this time, and your 10 minutes is in play.
No, I just, my apologies, Mayor, if I mistook your group for 2018 to come before the council in 2018. I thought it had to do with your neighborhood, so if I was erred in that, I apologize for that. Has there been any effort to repair your streets through your HOA?
Well, no, because the HOA was sort of started and run by the developer back in the 90s.
Okay.
And rather than an actual performance bond, the city back in the 90s required the developer to simply put up a $20,000 cash bond, which the city's been holding on to since the 90s. Well, 20 some odd years later, there's not nearly enough money to put the top coat on the roads. in the neighborhood, and that's the problem, because they were never maintained. The developer went bankrupt, in, I can't even remember now when it was, 2016 maybe?
He's deceased as well, I think.
I'm sorry?
He's deceased as well, I think.
Well, it was a family, and some of them are, some of them are
Okay.
not, sorry. But anyway, I'm an attorney, and so I represented everybody in the neighborhood, and we sued the developer to get the HOA to be in charge of it, and to get a judgment, and to, take over the control of it, because the the streets have yet to be dedicated to the city. But the city can't take them until we get them fixed. We
Right.
can't get them fixed until we get the money, and under Mayor Alexander, we were working on a splitsies deal where the city pays part of it, we pay part of it. Similar to the earlier item, this is not a private neighborhood, it just happens to be the streets haven't been dedicated yet. So we've been fooling with this for at least 10 years. So, here we are, and we're getting closer and closer every year. But it's, extraordinarily expensive, obviously, to fix the streets. And sadly, there's no insurance behind the completion of the neighborhood, and the developer left everybody hanging. There's about 34, 35 houses in the neighborhood, so anywhere between, 35 and 70 people live in the neighborhood, but, here we are. So it's something we need to do. The roads are getting worse every year. We've had testing done. We've paid for testing. We've got a general plan. I mean, everybody knows, how to pave a road essentially, but, it's just a matter of, it's got to get done. It's getting worse every year. The bumps are worse, the erosion's worse, it's becoming more of a danger, for vehicles and pedestrians.
Very good. Thank you, sir. And as I've noted before, as I mentioned to Councilman Box, as long as it's fine with that, with the opinion and the public purpose,
Sure.
I'm certainly on board with doing what we can. I understand that this is the same type of process where we're going to have a public hearing.
Correct.
And residents will be able to come out, and that this is going to be based on appraisals of properties, and that would be paid that way, the 50%. Is that correct?
Correct. We've talked about, 50%, we talked about 50% of the people, or the 50% allocated to the people that actually live on the street, that is affected, that type of stuff, and we're happy to work out any of those details. We've just got to get the ball rolling,
Okay.
to move forward. So,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Councilman Box?
The only question I have again is for April, and once again, we keep referring to the Attorney General's opinion. I think we also pursued an opinion from the Alabama Ethics Committee, did we not? That
Yes.
said that the city was full within its rights and capabilities to be able to conduct these actions for the citizens in the neighborhoods.
The Ethics Commission said that it was not an ethics violation for either you or the mayor to actually proceed forward with this. So that, and the city could go forward with it. So,
Very good. So then, once again, the Attorney General's opinion, it'd be hard to be in violation of an opinion. We could be in disagreement with an opinion, but not in violation.
what the opinion probably states, and I have not seen it, but basically the city cannot go out and actually pave a private, person's driveway that would only benefit that one citizen, without there being a public purpose to it. And in that situation, there probably was no public purpose, and it did not benefit in any way the city. That would be what I would think, but since I have not read it, I cannot say that. But in this particular ordinance, there is a public purpose that would be found by the city council if that ordinance were to be passed, which would be that it would benefit the city through their emergency vehicles, whether they be police or they be fire, that it would preserve those whenever they are called out there.
And Public Works as well to provide
For
trash
garbage
and
service,
recycling
yes,
service,
sir.
because that's another service that has been modified, and we've actually had to pick up the expense of the dumpster at our front, and the additional efforts of hauling our brush brush and other things up to, some people have to take it nearly a mile to get it picked up by the city. So, thanks again for that opinion, and I'm done with that. Thank you.
Yeah, so,
Councilman Wilson.
thank you. So I just want to be clear. So basically, after the public hearing, when we get the estimates or whatever the case may be, because I was here in 18, and I do remember those conversations, I remember them very well. So once we get that information back, as far as what the city is on the hook for, because I know we've talked about percentages, 50-50, 80-20, 70-30. So at that time, that's what I'm assuming, that's when we'll decide as far as how we want to move forward. Is that correct?
That is when the assessment will be
Okay.
made. Once you know all of the parts to
Right.
the puzzle.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you. Council President, I do have some people that may want to speak from my neighborhood as well, since we kind of missed that. I don't know, I'll give them the opportunity if you don't mind.
Okay,
And Council President, can I just say one thing before they sit down?
absolutely.
One of the things that I wanted everybody to know, that what my subdivision is asking for is no different than what Bainbridge asked for when their developer went bankrupt and the city partnered with them to get their roads done. It's no different than when Overton Crossings developer went bankrupt and they came here and asked the city for the same thing. So I would say that precedence has already been set by the city, that the city have already participated with subdivisions where the developer has gone bankrupt and has not put on the final coat of the road.
Thank you,
Can
sir.
I comment on that? Because Bainbridge Trace is my district.
Miss
And-
Councilwoman Cuellar, we're not going through with the
The-
second opportunity to
Okay,
speak.
sorry.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, fellas. That being said,
Councilwoman
Yes, sir.
We are your constituents as well.
I understand that.
So these individuals also live in District 3 and would love to have your representation as we move forward with this project.
Am I allowed to comment on that?
I'm going to close comments from the dais on this and open this up for any public comments on agenda items only. Yes, sir. As far as public comments, I will be enforcing the 2-minute rule.
Do we have any estimate on the cost of paving this?
That, at
So
that
it costs
ti-
of paving these streets right here?
Yeah, this subdivision we're talking about paving.
Yeah, that's the question I just asked. I mean, we're gonna get those,
When we're gonna pass a resolution, okay, how much to fix yours, Mr. Pop?
We had bids for 207 and 223,000, but that was also exclusive of some tests that the city may require for ecological things that could be spoken to better by some of my constituency. We weren't sure if the city was gonna require a certain test on those, and so that's why we put it at a budget of 250,000, which then the city would only be paying 125, and we would pay the rest through the
Well,
assessments with interest.
What I'm getting to is, we've got we got $20,000 or $25,000 in bond money. We've got $175,000 in discretionary fund. If all of y'all put your discretionary funds in, pave that, we wouldn't have this problem. I think you could solve some of our problems by putting your discretionary funds in and fix one of these 2 projects, and then the next year do the other one, or figure them out. But how many of y'all have read this?
I read through that. It's a
I've
very
read it as well.
It's very complicated and complex.
Very complicated about
issue.
assessing and what you can do and what you can't do.
But as far as our neighborhood citizens are going, we have, I would say, at least 80% agreement, and they're just very grateful for the city at last offering help instead of actually the city removing services that the city is bound by state law to provide. So
Well,
the city's bound by state law because of our
Your
tax.
group said they were gonna
Yeah,
pay half, right?
right, and I was here for that. Yeah.
Your group said you would pay half of the bridge.
That was correct,
Well,
but
if
to
the
simplify,
discretionary funds kick in, you got the bridge done.
say again?
If you would all put in your discretionary funds into this project, then you got the project done.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. I appreciate your
sir.
comments. Any other comments regarding agenda items only? No one from the room? I do not see Mr. Bishop, therefore,
Amanda,
okay,
you don't have a slip, do you, Amanda?
okay, thank you, Chief. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say thank you again for considering our project. It's very important to our neighborhood. It really affects the way our neighborhood functions. To have a dumpster at the entrance and to have a big pile of brush at the entrance to our neighborhood is really an eyesore. But it also is a hindrance to how we live and how we work. So it's really a blessing for the city to consider this as an opportunity for us to move forward with our project. So thank you very much for your consideration.
And Councilperson Swabb, if I could have one more minute.
Thank you, ma'am.
On the fire and life service issue, with modified fire and life services, how much responsibility is the city going to bear if one of the houses actually burns down?
Acknowledged.
And somebody dies there?
Acknowledged.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the in-person crowd tonight on agenda items only? I want to make sure I'm not missing any hands. Okay. Chief, you have no questions? Outstanding. Thank you very much. That being said, we will now begin to address the agenda as discussed. I would ask for a motion for the approval of the agenda with the various items noted on consent.
Let me do this. I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda with the items that is listed on consent. The items that's listed on consent will be under unfinished business, item number 1. Under new business, items that's under consent would be item number 1, item number 3, and item number 4.
Thank you, Councilman
It's in a
Wilson.
motion form.
Thank you very much, sir. Do we have a second on the approval of the
Second.
agenda?
Got a second.
Thank you, Councilman London. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So that being said, we find ourselves at new business item number 2. I'm sorry, I thought someone asked a question. New business item number 2. May we
Councilman
have a
Spivey.
motion for the resolution? Yes, ma'am.
That was just the vote to approve the agenda, correct? Then we would also have a vote to approve the consent agenda, which would be those 4 items.
I don't think we've ever done it that way. We've always just made sure we've had unanimous consent on the agenda. But if that's something you feel that's important and keeps us from opposed, then I can consider that.
Okay, just,
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. So that being said, under advisement, make a motion based on Councilman Wilson's approval of the agenda that item number 1 under unfinished business, item number 1 under new business, and item number 3 under new business are on consent. Do we have unanimous
We
agreement?
forgot 4.
I'm sorry, item number 4 of new business on consent.
Right, is that in the motion?
That is the motion that I'm asking for.
All right, second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That being said, we find ourselves at item number 2 for new business. May I have a motion for the approval of Resolution 2021-R16?
Make a motion, resolution 2021 R16 be moved.
May we have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Councilman Wilson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Okay. Motion passes. All right, we find ourselves at item number 5 under new business. May I have a motion for the passage of Resolution 2021-R19?
Make a motion 2021 R19 be moved.
May we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
I'll abstain.
You'll abstain. So that passes. Item number 6 under new business. Looking for a motion. I'm sorry, I apologize for that. In regards to ordinance 2021-02, since we've all received a copy, we consider this read. Therefore, I would take a motion from someone to suspend the rules.
I make a motion that all rules that prevent the immediate consideration and adoption of ordinance number 2021-02 be suspended and that the unanimous consent be given for the immediate consideration of said ordinance.
May we have a second?
Second?
Second, we have a second. Roll call?
Yes.
Councilman London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
And myself, yes. You would finish this up, sir?
Yeah.
I make a
One
motion.
moment, Councilman Box.
Can we make a motion that it be considered read first?
We don't have to.
Okay.
Yep, thank you, though. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Yes, sir, please, if you would resume.
I make a motion that ordinance number 2021-02 be finally passed and adopted as introduced.
May we have a second?
Second?
Second by Councilman London. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ordinance passes. Item number 7, under new business. Once again, since we've all received the copy, we're going to go ahead and consider that as a first reading. That being said, if I may have a motion for the suspension of rules.
Yes, I make a motion that all rules that would prevent the immediate consideration and adoption of ordinance number 2021-03 be suspended and that unanimous consent be given for the immediate consideration of said ordinance.
Thank you, sir. May we have a second?
A second?
Second by Councilman London. Roll call. Councilman London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
And myself, yes. And then finally, sir?
I'm sorry. I make a motion that ordinance number 2021-03 be finally passed and adopted as introduced.
Thank you, sir. And we have a second from Councilman London?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. That is passed. Well, that concludes the deliberation and movement through our agenda. We find ourselves at public comments to the council on non-agenda items. Do we have anyone, ma'am? I believe you're in front. Once again, we will be sticking to the 2-minute rule around public comments. Please, ma'am.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for moving the city forward. And in keeping with that, I just needed clarification. I was here on February 17th. There was a budget vote. The Alabama State Code, Section 1144C, 48, and 46, requires that a city budget be publicly presented and allow for public discussion before there's a city council approval. It appears to me, of course I'm not a lawyer, that the state code was not followed prior to the February 17th meeting. So was this vote legal? Am
Does
I-
that conclude, is that the meat of your question, or did you have something else you wanted to ask?
And then I have one additional question.
Please go ahead and ask that question.
The fiscal year ends September 30th, so why are you having a new budget voted on when you have 7 more months in the fiscal year? Usually, it's done in September.
Does
So
that-
there's my 2 questions.
Those are your 2 questions?
Thank you.
Mayor,
Thank
if you
Can I
could
answer
take,
those?
if you could take 2 moments to answer
Yes,
that.
I would, the first question, why did we adopt a budget 7 months before the fiscal year was out? That was your second question. The reason we adopted it because we had already extended the previous budget until we had the new council to get set before we began the process of going through that. Also, when I was serving as a city clerk and I won the election August 25th, I wasn't in a position to begin to put the budget together until I was sworn in on November the 2nd. So we extended the budget 2 times before we actually adopted the budget on the 17th. Your first question that you stated that we violated the municipal code is actually 1975 and not 2016 from the email that you sent to me. However, if you read the top of what you sent to me, the city of Irondale is a classification 8 and not 2. So we do not fall up under that information that you sent to me because we're not that class. We are a class 8. So going forward, if you want to see what we should be doing going forward, when you read the code, you need to make sure that you're looking in the section that says municipal classification number 8 and not 2.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the in-person crowd regarding any non-council items, non-agenda items? I believe I thought I saw this gentleman in the back. If you could, did you have a question for us, sir? I thought I saw your hand up before the young lady spoke. My mistake, I apologize. Anybody else from the in-person crowd? Okay. Chief, do we have anyone from we have no questions? I'm sorry? Neither platform has any questions. That being said, I would take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
May we have a second? Second by Councilman Wilson. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Thank you all for your attendance tonight. Have a safe journey home. It was quick.